Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today for you guys, it's another Evil Dead video. Now, I actually have a bit of a different Evil Dead video. Now, last time when I did like an Evil Dead style thing, I believe I actually reviewed Evil Dead Rise. And we're kind of gonna, I guess, go over my collection of Evil Dead Blu-rays and movies. But this isn't necessarily just a showcase. I also want to kind of tell you guys the timeline, the official canon Evil Dead timeline. Because believe it or not, there's a lot of... There's a lot of idiots online that think that, say, Evil Dead 2013 is a reboot or a remake, or that, you know, Evil Dead 2 is a reboot or a remake, and all this crazy crap. And I was talking with my cousin about maybe, I don't know, a week or so ago, and she was like, hey, I recently rewatched Evil Dead 1, 2, and 3, aka Army of Darkness, and I want to kind of know the official canon timeline because it doesn't really make any sense. And to me it does. Not calling her stupid, but, you know, there are people online that are really, really dumb, and they just don't understand it. But, yeah, so I'm going to be kind of going over my showcase of the collection I have, as well as the official timeline of the Evil Dead franchise. So if you enjoy this video, make sure to like, subscribe if you're new. I'm going to get to 2,000 pretty soon here. Anyway, let's do this. So, of course, the first one is pretty friggin' easy. We have The Evil Dead, released in, I believe, 1981, I think. There is, of course, no... effing date on here, but it's fine, forget about it. But yeah, so this is basically the only one I have on DVD. I could have gotten this one on Blu-ray, but I decided not to because if you watch the Evil Dead one, this one, it does have a very old-timey, kind of old aspect vibe to it. Because theoretically this was a student fan film, essentially. You know, Sam Raimi, a bunch of his buddies went to a freaking cabin, they got drunk, and they filmed the video, and possibly high. And from there, it was like, okay, this is a major phenomenon. So, as the movie itself, I have some critiques. I do think it's a very good horror movie, though. I know there's a lot of people that say, it doesn't hold up or whatever, but I think it's a fun film. But this is not a review, this is a timeline video. So, The Evil Dead, of course, it basically begins with, of course, spoiler warning for any of you. If you have not seen The Evil Dead, obviously you don't want to watch this video because I'm going to tell you beat for beat. You know, so don't, you ruined it! Just listen. Anyway, so The Evil Dead starts off with Ash Williams and a bunch of his buddies going to this cabin in the woods. Shit hits the fan, theoretically and metaphorically. And then at the end of the film, we do get a kind of a weird ending. Now, this is kind of a point of contention. This is one of the bigger aspects of this this franchise where basically Ash burns the book, right? Burns the Necronomicon. As we know in the TV show and other aspects, burning the book doesn't really do anything, but Ash does burn it. The Deadites do die, at least temporarily. They kind of explode and all that. And then Ash just kind of meanders his way out into the forest, and he thinks he's won. And of course, we get that awesome POV shot that is known in this franchise, where a Deadite kind of, like scoots his way, not the actual noise, that's just me, but he kind of scoots his way onto, this character, and then Ash Williams gets attacked. The point of view, which is literally just Sam Raimi, or probably one of his buddies, on a friggin' bicycle, just ramming a camera into Ash's mouth, Bruce Campbell's face. But in the movie, right, in the lore, the Deadite attacks Ash, and then he screams, and the camera goes up to his mouth, cut to black, movie over. That's it, right? That's all you got for Evil Dead 1. Now, you move on to the sequel, which is Evil Dead 2, aka Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn. This is where my Blu-ray collection starts. Not too crazy, you got the disc there, the iconic skeleton skull. This one came out in 1987. I believe the first one was in 1981. If I'm correct. But, yeah, I mean, this is a really good movie. This is where the Evil Dead franchise really took into that horror slash comedy route. You know, I mean, it was horror, but it was also more or less funny at the same time. Like, you're supposed to be scared and laugh sometimes at the same time. But this is really where stuff goes down in a good and bad way. Because in the very beginning of this movie, the viewers are treated to a recap of the events of the first film, right? Now, think of, for example, I'm just going to use Ninjago because a lot of you probably have seen Ninjago or know about it. In the Ninjago canon, at least until from, roughly season 1 all the way to season, I want to believe, 10. I mean, it's the whole thing, I guess, but, in the earlier, take season 4, for example, right, Turn of Venom Elements, you get Master Wu saying, previously on Ninjago. And you have, a recap of the last episode to kind of clue you in on what's going on. They didn't do that just to do it, they did it to clue you in, right? A lot of TV shows have this. Movies, on the other hand, do not have this. That's the point. It's like watching, watching, The Force Awakens, and then you watch Last Jedi, and the first 10 minutes of The Last Jedi is previously on, and then they kind of refilm The Force Awakens, it doesn't make sense. Or it's like watching The Two Towers, Lord of the Rings, right? Or Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, whatever. And then they show 5 to 10 minutes of Fellowship or Unexpected Journey. That wouldn't make sense, because movies are different in that movies, they expect you to know the previous film or the previous films before going into this current one, right? That's just how movies are done. And for some reason, Sam Raimi was probably smoking a doobie and said, you know what, we should do that. Let's do it. So they recap the first movie by having different actors, because the women were either pregnant or they just couldn't make the shoot. They obviously got Bruce Campbell back as Ash Williams. And for the first 5-10 minutes of this movie, they straight up freaking redo the events of the first film, right? And because it's reshot, because it's a recap, and because there are different actors and actresses in it, mainly just the actress, a lot of people online, again, don't think, or they don't like to think, or they just jump to conclusions, right? You guys know sequel trilogy, right? Indiana Jones 5 isn't even effing out yet, and you have people saying it's going to be woke trash, Trust me, okay? You spend 5 minutes on Twitter, you know it, okay? You know I'm right. So you have these people that are like, oh, wait a minute, why would Ash go back to the town or city he's from, get more people, and bring new people to the cabin, only for the same thing to happen again? This is stupid. And then Evil Dead 2 is just a remake of the first. Why? It's like, no. Take a step back. Use your brain and listen, okay? This is the Now, I'm not just saying this to say it. I have proof, right? Bruce Campbell, the directors, they all say this is the canon thing. And it's funny, if you go on the Evil Dead Reddit account, there's people on the Reddit saying, this is canon! It's not. Okay, listen up. I'm going to tell you the straight up answer here. So, Evil Dead 1, right, the very first film ends with Ash Williams getting attacked by a Deadeye, right? The camera goes up to his face, he screams, cut to black. If you honestly cut out the 5 to 10 minute recap, which again, I don't know why that's there, movie fans are supposed to be hopefully smart enough to know, or at least remember what happened in the last film. So yes, knowing that now, that the first 5-10 minutes of Evil Dead 2 is a remake of the first film, in a sense that they're recapping it, not remaking it, recapping it, like an Ninjago TV episode. Really, the best way to start. In fact, I recently rewatched all these movies, and when I got to Evil Dead 2, I skipped the intro, because I've seen it before, but for this time, I skipped it and went right to the scene where Ash is flying through the air, and he's going around, he's getting hit by bushes and all that. That is the official thing. So, again, The Force Awakens to The Last Jedi, right? The Force Awakens, it literally ends 2 seconds later, The Last Jedi begins. There's no downtime, right? It's just it's like a boom, boom. There's no 10-minute gap or days gap or whatever. It's just, that starts, or that ends, and this starts. Same exact thing. Evil Dead 1 ends with Ash getting attacked. Evil Dead 2 begins, again, once you skip that recap, which doesn't even have to be there, it's completely nonsensical. Ash is flying through the air, screaming and all that. That is literally the same exact thing. There's no downtime, right? Evil Dead 1 ends, Evil Dead 2 begins. Simple as that. Evil Dead 2 ends with Ash Williams getting sent back to 1300 AD, and with that, you see the portal and the time and all that from the Lost Pages, and from there you get the ending of Evil Dead 2, where he is essentially, seeing these knights, and they're like, hey, oh, the Deadite killer and all that, and Ash is like, no, and the prophecy. That's a whole nother topic. But this, literally in the timeline sense, Evil Dead 1 ends, boom, Evil Dead 2 begins. Evil Dead 2 ends, boom, Army of Darkness, aka Evil Dead 3 begins. This entire Ash Williams trilogy is literally, each movie takes place seconds after each other. There's no downtime. It's that easy. Because when you finish Evil Dead 2, Ash shoots this Deadite out of the sky, and Army of Darkness begins with him doing that. Again, for this film also, they stupidly recap Evil Dead 2, because they wanted to get like, oh, we want this to be PG-13, yet there's straight up like boobs in the movie, and there's the F word, and there's gore, and there's this was never gonna get an FNPG-13. I'll tell you this right away. I don't know what Sam Raimi was thinking, but in this aspect, you do get that sense where, wow, I don't get how this is confusing, because literally Evil Dead 2 ends and Army of Darkness straight up begins. Now this is my Screwhead edition, just the normal Blu-ray. Looking pretty cool. Kind of similar to A New Hope, I suppose. And then this is my Steelbook I got of the movie, which I got at Barnes & Noble, I think. This is obviously, objectively, a cooler cover, right? Like, this is freaking cool. I showed it in my my unboxing video a while ago, but it's got a few different versions, it's got all this kind of stuff. It is the theatrical cut, the Blu-ray theatrical, This disc here is the Blu-ray Director's Cut, which is the longest, clocking in at 96 minutes. And then on the last disc here, you have the International/Television Cut. I've been watching the this version for the longest time. And then when I got this one, I put in the this version. The ending of this version is not canon. That's the one where Ash wakes up in like this distorted future and everything's destroyed. It's like, 15 minutes into a Biden regime. But at the same time, you look at that and you're like, whoa, what's happening? That's not canon, okay? The real canon ending is Ash Williams wakes up, is back at the S-Mart, and he kind of kills that lady Deadite and just, lives out his days as a Deadite killer. But yeah, I mean, it's that easy. Evil Dead 1 ends, 2 begins. 2 ends, 3 ends. This is 3, Evil Army of Darkness. I don't know why they didn't call it Medieval Dead. I don't know. But that's it. It's that easy. That entire trilogy is just boom, boom, boom. There's no downtime. And then, of course, we get to probably the creepiest one so far, as well as the most confusing one so far. We have Evil Dead 2013. This thing doesn't work, but what are you going to do? Now, this is the one that I remember vaguely seeing commercials for this back in 2013. I think I saw it during like a Super Bowl. And it's literally that, I don't know if you can see it with the lighting, but it's literally Deadite Mia in the basement or whatever the hell that is, the thing. And it scarred me. And actually seeing it, this is one of the best horror movies ever made. I mean, in my opinion, I have to love the thing to death. But for the longest time, people online were like, Evil Dead 2013, this movie, is 100% a reboot/remake, right? It's a reboot, right? Oh, it's not the same world, it's a reboot. That is false. Objectively false. And I have evidence. Point A, the director of Evil Dead Rise, which we will cover next, against spoilers, he straight up said, Lee Cronin, he said, look, Evil Dead 2013 is not a reboot. This is in the same canon. Even the director of this movie, Fede Alvarez, he said, look, this movie continues the trilogy. It's not a reboot. Yes, new people introduced. Yes, Ash Williams is in it, just in credits, all he says is, groovy, and then it ends, but whatever. But yeah, there's the cabin, there's a lot of familiar story beats, right? Like I said, they go to the cabin, one person gets possessed, it's got the locket, it's got Ash's Delta. There's a lot of familiar things in this where one could honestly say, yeah, okay, this is a reboot. There's little hidden Easter eggs. You hear, join us, in the beginning, and it isn't necessarily there because it's a reboot. It's there because the Book of the Dead, aka the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, as we now know, that the Book of the Dead, there's 3 of them, each one is different in their supernatural evil abilities, as well as the fact that the Book of the Dead can literally, I know this might seem like a cop-out, but this is the canon, the Book of the Dead can literally manipulate time and space. That's why, like in Evil Dead Rise, you see blood in the elevator. No way in hell you're going to get, where's that blood coming from? It just materializes stuff. And the reason why this movie feels like a reboot, and there's so many similarities, right? You get the cabin, you get the Delta, you get whatever, the chainsaw. The fact that it's the same, but it's slightly different, isn't because it's a reboot or a remake. It's because it's the Book of the Dead literally screwing mentally with Ash so much, right? Like, the Book of the Dead literally loved messing with Ash so much in those first 3 movies that they're literally kind of giving that same experience to a new group of people, slightly altering it, right? That's why you see, like, Mia and I think David, the 2 protagonists in this, they kind of have this history of going to the cabin as kids and all that. Obviously you didn't see any of those pictures in the Ash Williams films because, again, it's like a different timeline in a sense, but it's still in the same canon because, again, the Book of the Dead can manipulate that kind of stuff, and they're kind of changing the reality to alter that kind of stuff. It's a little confusing, but it makes sense. Hopefully I can make it make sense. Basically, in the shortest form, it's not a reboot, it's in the same canon because the Book of the Dead can manipulate time and space. That's what they do, right? It's just that's how it is. And yeah, I mean, it's really cool that it is, because maybe when this movie originally came out, it was supposed to be a reboot, but once Evil Dead Rise, which again, I don't know when this takes place after Evil Dead 2013, but this one does, all of this, everything I have here, all of this, it's in the same canon, right? There's nothing in an alternate universe, it's all same thing. But in this, you get the sense that, okay, when does this take place? I don't really have to know. It could be a few months, a few years after 2013, I don't really know. But this is where we get another book introduced, and this is the one where all the lore is kind of being explained. And thankfully, in the Evil Dead future, they're going to be kind of expanding upon this lore, which is really, really awesome. But this might be my favorite Evil Dead movie. I don't know. It's a toss-up between this and 2013, but this is a damn good movie, man. If you can stomach gore, oh boy, you gotta see it. It's a masterclass in horror cinema. But at the same time, this one also has another book. Now, the reason why this one is also in the same canon is because Lee Cronin, the director of this movie, Evil Dead Rise, was interviewed, and he said, you know that scene in Army of Darkness, aka Evil Dead 3, where Ash is in the medieval time and he sees those 3 books? Each of those 3 books is for the different protagonists. So one of those books is for the Evil Dead trilogy with Ash. The second book is the 2013 book, and the third book is the one that Danny finds in Evil Dead Rise, this one, 2023. And that's it. I mean, it's that simple. This guy, this director of this movie, literally made every single movie in the same canon by saying, yeah, 3 books, 3 different timelines, 3 different whatever you want to call it, but it's all the same thing, right? The books have different powers. That's why you see in the Ash Williams trilogy, they kind of make fun of him and all that, kind of poke fun at stuff. It's more jokey. They kind of take the stop motion effect to kind of creep you out and kind of give you this unnerving feel. 2013, they just brutally kill you. This one, they also brutally kill you, but it's more of a joyous, when Ellie gets possessed, it's more of like a joyous kid. Like, she's genuinely happy to be murdering people, and she's like laughing and having a good old grand time. Each one is slightly different, and each one kind of connects everything together through that scene in Army of Darkness. It's really effing good storytelling in a franchise that really, when it began in 81 or whatever, it didn't really have it. It was just, okay, these guys go to a cabin, and hell gets unleashed, and that's it. Now they have this whole universe that they're unraveling, which is really, really cool, and I'm very glad they're doing that, and it's that simple. So again, the biggest thing so far is that Ash Williams trilogy, boom, 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 right after each other. 2013 is not a reboot. It's in the same canon, just with a different book. That can kind of manipulate time and space and all that to kind of bring old with the new, and then same thing with kind of Evil Dead Rise. And then we kind of bring the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV show, which was on Starz. It was going to get 5 seasons, and then they canceled it after 3 because no one was effing watching it, and then they put it on Netflix, and now everyone's effing watching it. But thankfully, Bruce Campbell, he sadly cannot perform Ash anymore because he's kind of flopping and flipping around. But which is also cool is that he can voice him. So they're gonna hopefully be doing Ash vs. Evil Dead season 4 just as an animated show, which I'm totally effing there for. Groovy. Let's go, bitch. What were the other things? Come get some. That kind of thing. So season 1, and then you got season 2. And then you got season 3. One of the best TV shows I've ever seen. I'm not even going to lie. I haven't seen every show in the world, but every show that I have seen live action, this is one of the best ones for sure. It's a very well done show. It's kind of like the original 3 where it's got horror and comedy. If you haven't seen it, again, I got all these at the exchange for like $20 total. Go ahead and if you like horror, if you love Evil Dead and you haven't seen the show, please do a favor and watch it. But this one takes place roughly 30 or 40 years after the Army of Darkness film, when Ash goes back to real life, working in the S-Mart, of course, and he runs into that Deadite. He kind of gets straight up blazed. He gets high as a kite, and he kind of recites the Necronomicon words again, and stuff hits the fan, and we get Kelly and Pablo and all that. And spoiler alert for the show, in the very end of season 3, Ash does wake up in that far future, and he got this hot robot chick. She's got like these robotic arms, and they kind of scoop up the Delta, and Ash basically Kelly, Pablo, and his daughter Candy or Sandy or Mandy, I don't know, whatever her name is, they're all kind of not dead, they're just on their own adventures, and they're just kind of AWOL, and then it's up to Ash to continue the fight in the far future and find them while still kicking Deadite ass. And that's where the franchise, at this point, in terms of the canon, sadly ends. Now, are we going to get a season 4? I hope it's animated. I just hope we get more continuation. Now, we are getting more stuff in the future to kind of build out the books, because these 3 books, they have so much that is known, but also so much that is not known, and I think it's really cool that we can kind of expand on that further. But that is it, guys. Hope you enjoyed my Evil Dead collection. I got everything here that's released so far on Blu-ray and DVD. I really love this franchise. I'm very glad I got into it. It's fantastic, and hopefully I could also kind of, breathe new life into the franchise, and also kind of give you guys the official canon timeline, because for some reason a lot of people don't understand that. So applying some logic, thought, watching the movies, watching the directors being interviewed and hearing what they have to say, and obviously, if the director says the 3 books are uniting it, then the 3 books are uniting it. So it's really cool that Lee Cronin could do that. It's kind of like Spider-Man No Way Home, where like the Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield movies, those are all canon now, just part of the multiverse. basically this Lee Cronin guy was able to make all these movies canon through that one scene in Army of Darkness. Very cool stuff, and I can't wait to see what the Evil Dead franchise has in store in the future. And yeah, whatever you guys think, tell me in the comments down below. I think it's really cool. Pretty easy, honestly. Hopefully I can help you out. And tell me in the comments what your favorite season of the Ash vs. Evil Dead show are, and also what your favorite Evil Dead film is. Again, mine is Evil Dead Rise or Evil Dead 2013. I don't know, it's a toss-up. I think Evil Dead Rise is the best made, but Evil Dead 2013 might be the goriest and most brutal. But I love all these movies, I love the TV show, and I cannot wait to see the Evil Dead franchise being expanded upon further in the future. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.